for sure. Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen. I'm so excited for you educating yourself by listening to this podcast. And for those of you watching YouTube at My Life as a Landlord, you will see I have an amazing guest today who is a real estate investor, has got a great business model, including multifamily units and self-storage. And he also has an amazing podcast he's going to tell us all about. Ian Horowitz is here from Equity Warehouse, based on the East Coast of the US. And tell us all about it more. Welcome, Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jen. I see you're enjoying life out on the boat, so congratulations. And I'm just jealous that I'm not out there with you. So,
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, we're taking in the sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. It's not bad north of Vancouver. That's pretty good.
there, there you go. It's
Yeah,
good times, good
good,
times.
good times. Well, I have to laugh because you and I've talked a couple of times now. You're a former firefighter, but now you're into real estate. Tell us how that all happened.
Yeah, I guess, well, I don't know how to do short stories. So, I got hired in 2008. My business partner got hired in 2007. We went and wanted to be big city firemen. We grew up outside of Philadelphia and we traveled down to Baltimore City. You ever watch The Wire? That's where we worked. When all the riots happened, that's where we worked. Absolutely best job in the world when it comes down to helping people, providing service, doing all those fun things. But there's one small issue. We got hired in '07 and '08. By 2009, we're getting furloughed. By 2010, pension systems all across the country are going bankrupt. California, Detroit. I was like, well, dude, Baltimore is like a half a step below Detroit. So we're next. Wanted to start a family, trying to figure out how to pay for childcare was like a monumental task. And then I was like, oh, that's crazy. Company closure, schedule changes, no overtime, no promotions. Dude, they literally put everything out there for me to not want to continue my career there. So in 2012, I took a small little risk and bought a piece of single family real estate, because I said there has to be a better way. We were in a line of work that you could literally be killed the next day. Like, you could go to work and not come home. And I was like, well, if I'm going to have kids and a wife, like, I need to be able to provide for them. I want to be able to do that, even if I'm in the grave or so incapacitated, that I can still provide them a lifestyle. So I bought a piece of real estate. It was the only thing that I could think that if I'm asleep, it makes money. I don't have to touch it, don't have to do anything to it. It'll make me money. So 2012, bought our first property. A little bit later, 6 months later, bought another one, and that was it. It was just game on after that. And here we are today with a little over $70 million of assets and continuing to grow. It's been an amazing trajectory.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Are all your properties on the East Coast?
No, they aren't. So we did a lot in single family. We grinded it out. And then 2019, we made a big shift towards commercial real estate, specifically multifamily and self-storage. So a lot of our residential properties exist around us, within like a 2-hour radius, but we own self-storage in Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Ohio. We do own across the country, but that was part of the reason of getting involved in commercial real estate, to, again, the same way we diversified into real estate to get out of the Baltimore city matrix. It was like, well, now we need to get out of the Maryland matrix because there's so much stuff going on here that we want to operate in other states that are maybe a little more business friendly. So
I gotcha. What's your take on providing housing versus not providing housing?
yeah, I mean, it's it's interesting, right? Because habitational real estate is like important to the economy, important to the people, important to every like way of life of what we do. But in the same sense, there's so many consumer protection laws against around it. It makes it so miserable to operate. It's the typical governmental shotgun approach to discipline, right? And I dealt with that at work, and it's the same thing there. It's like, hey, just because you're a shitty landlord doesn't mean that I'm a bad landlord. Like, I'm getting punished and taxed for what other people are doing. And after a while, it weighed down on us to the point of like, okay, there's got to be better opportunities out there that allow us to invest, be autonomous, act like true business owners, but in the same sense, still be able to, you know, provide something that is like important to the economy. So we do storage, which you may think it's not, but people are always moving. People need to put their stuff places. We've made a big push towards contractor storage. It's our best performing storage sites, so we're actively building some of them, and that's the heartbeat of America. You know, providing places, shops for your granite guys, for your landscapers, for your HVAC guys, like that is the heartbeat of America, and we're still a part of the economy in that sense. And I think the no red tape around it makes life a little easier. If you're watching this, you can tell I resonate a little bit better with that tenant base than I do with someone who's not paying my rent. That's like a resident that, I was just talking to someone else about this, like, in the commercial space, I walk into the courthouse, I don't have to worry about the public defenders and the rent escrows and mediation and all the other crap. It's like, hey, you didn't pay your rent. It's very transactional. When it comes to habitational real estate, it's consumer protection. You walk in, you try to get an eviction, then they won't do that because you got to do mediation. After you do mediation, then they file a rent escrow. If they file a rent escrow, then they file a stay, and the public defender just walks you down the line. Next, it's 9 months later, and you can't evict someone. It's insane, and that's sad. That's really a sad state for the United States, more than it is the people who are involved in the system. They're just playing the game, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's not too different in Canada. And I'm finding that you've got third-party arbitrators and mediators, like in some of the locations that you're talking about. And same thing is true in British Columbia, and in Hawaii. But you've also got, like, for example, in Hawaii, you go straight into the courthouse, just like what you were saying. But in British Columbia, there's actually a third-party arbitrator, and it depends very much on the state and the province that you're operating, geographically where it is. How do you keep track of all that when you're talking multifamily in different places and self-storage in different places? You've got quite a team backing you up, it sounds like.
Yeah, we have like 15 to 17 employees. We stay pretty busy. Someone's always working on something inside of our office. Now, side by side with that, we kind of storage in general has a little bit easier lien laws. The eviction process or getting someone out of your unit is much more transactional than it is with residential real estate. So when we decided
Sure.
to make the move to buy more commercial real estate assets outside of our jurisdictional area, we wanted an asset class that gave us freedom to do what we needed to do and follow easy laws and not have to hire lawyers. In Maryland, you know, I have to have a lawyer represent me in certain situations, and it costs money for nothing, and then you're fighting for it. So yeah, I mean, keeping track of it can be a pain in the butt, but as you continue to grow and scale, building the right team around you allows you to do that and have success.
If I was just starting out and it's me and my husband, if I was just going to scale up, what's the first person that I would hire for just a mom and pop and they want to scale up one person? Who's the most important hire? Who's that first hire?
Yeah, what I would say is you need to take a disc personality test, understand who
Okay.
and what you are, and offset that. I'm a D and an I, right? So I'm decisive, but I'm a talker, a visionary. My business partner is a D and an S, so he's a decision maker, but he wants to be in the supportive role to help us all out, right? And he does the back end books, he creates the budgets, he makes sure he has money on hands. So my first hire was actually a business partner who can keep my ass in line, right? After that, what I would say is you want to hire the person that you're the weakest in, the tasks that you don't want to do. Put all your tasks on the board and decide what you don't want to do. Just recently, I hired an assistant. It's the craziest thing in the world. I never thought I would do it. It's been the best thing ever. There's all kinds of stuff happening in the background. But for Dan and I, being a mom and pop operator, we decided to hire someone that we understood the job for. So we hired a project manager. And that project manager then allowed us to get out of the streets and into the office to work on. Holy shit, I didn't realize I got to do taxes like this, or I got to do entity documentation like that, or evictions, or build the processes, it freed us up to continue to build the business. And then each little subsection is like, okay, this job description squared away, hire an office administrator, and so on and so forth. So some people are going to hire their weakness, and other people are going to hire their strong suits. But if you hire your strong suit, just make sure you're not micromanaging that. And I think that's
Mhm.
one place where we were able to succeed and say, okay, Ryan's going to go out, run the streets every day. He's the operations guy. We don't need to micromanage him because we know it's getting done, and we can go work on all the crap uh, that we weren't doing and continue to build the business. Um, it's a little long-winded because a lot of people would hire what they're strong in, but then step on their toes, right? You're a doctor. Uh, you're treating someone, or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hire another doctor to handle it. But then you walk in and it's like, all right, I'm gonna do this surgery, or I'm gonna do this, right? Like, they look at doctors, they all have like nurses that help them out, right? Or
Yeah.
so I don't know, just tossing that out there as a little ism that I hope makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm totally agreeing with you. I hadn't thought about taking the DISC profile for us and then offsetting. We'd always just say what's the least favorite thing that we don't want to do, and that's what we need to hire for, and create a scope of work around that. So it sounds like we're on the same lines, but I never talked about doing like a personality profile
Well,
first, which it makes sense.
right, because here's the thing is, you might not want to do that task, but then we all are attracted to people that are like us, right?
Right.
So I love talkers. Like, anybody that's a sales rep, I'm like, I'm in. That's the best dude or woman in the world. Like, they got my back, but they're really just sales guys. And my business partner's like, no, they're selling us. And then when we go to hire an accountant or whatever, I'm like, I can't sit in this conversation. He's like, no, we need to talk about it. Right. So that's where you need the offsetting person to help you, because it's going to be more than just that. Right. Because if
Right.
you have two decisive personalities in a room to say, name a task that you don't want to do. You don't want to schedule your podcast anymore, and you're real decisive, and that person's real decisive, and you're like, no, I want it done this way. And that person continues to say, no, it's getting done this way. Well, it's getting done. It's going to be an operational rub. And you're saying, I can't hire employees. Like, I'm sitting in my in-laws business. They used to sell and service outdoor power equipment. They're now out of business today. We bought it and shut it down. Because why? Because they always said nobody can do the work as good as us. Nobody wants to work, and everybody steals. I said, guys, like, that's insane. Like, what are you talking about? I said, who cares? Even if they do the work 90% or 80% as good as you, and Mike can oversee the other mechanics to make sure if it goes out the door that it gets fixed, yeah, you'll make more money. And guess what? You don't need to work until you're done. Unfortunately, my father-in-law literally worked until he died. He just passed
Oh,
away, and he got cancer, and 18 months he was gone, and it was basically bedridden from the time he left this place till then. I'm like, that is no way to live. The goal of our
no.
business, and it's been a major mindset change of like why commercial real estate is, we can grow and scale our business. Our goal is to make it autonomous, that this thing will invest in real estate without us, right? Like, we just want to act as the deal committee. We want to act as the investor. And then there's underwriters, there's acquisitions managers, there's capital raisers, there's employees to run the deals. Doing the commercial real estate with the margins and much more structured way of doing business allows us to do that, rather than the run of the mill single family. Oh, let me buy that. Let me buy this. Let me do this. Let me do that. And too many people don't ever get it off their books. And I could go on and on about employees, because I think it's the most important thing. I will come up for a breath of air, but I do want to say one more thing is,
Sure.
I think it's very, very selfish. I want to put this in a way that people understand. I think it's very, very selfish when people say, I made enough and I'm done and I'm just going to go live my life in an RV, or I'm going to go travel the country and whatever. I just have this one property and I made a bunch of money and that's it. And I shut it down. And I sit here and I think about our employees who came from recovery, our employees that are similar to us that came from the fire service, that were able to leave their jobs and work with us. Like, building this company is more than just us, right? Like, our project manager had a really bad past. Now he has 3 kids, a wife, and well over $500,000 house, right? Like that's beautiful to us. This is more than just us. It's about everybody involved, and it's completely selfish. And people ask all the time, why do you want to grow more? Well, it's not about us. It's about our employees. It's about our co-investors. It's about our co-lenders that allow us to continue to grow. And if they want to do more, we'll do more with them. And if they don't want to do more, then we'll shut it down. Or if we want to do more, we'll add more employees to the ecosystem, right?
Right.
So sorry, it was really
Amazing.
long-winded. It was really long-winded,
No,
but I
that's
get very passionate about it. So
I clearly, and I love it. And, it's all about the team. And I think that that goes all the way back to your firefighting roots to, you've got very visionary tendencies just because you could see the writing on the wall when the recession was coming, the furloughs are coming to Detroit. You could see this wave happening. So you've got this visionary aspect. But you're right. It's all about the team. And it was the same thing when I was in the military. It's all about the team. Well,
yeah.
Ian, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, we host a podcast. It's called Real Estate Reserve Podcast. Similar to you, we interview real people doing real deals. No gurus, none of that crap. We want to hear from the real people that are out there grinding on real estate and how they're doing it. There's so many undercover serial entrepreneurs that you would never know that are doing real estate. And when I find them, I'm like, dude, you need to get on the show, come out and talk. So,
They're not
I,
they're not walking around with a football jersey that says I'm a real estate
yeah,
Jedi. Like it doesn't
yeah.
work like that.
Yeah, no hats that say CEO, right? Like they're actually doing the deals, and when they take the time to come on our show, it's like, well, yeah, dude, like I'd love to have you on. You've been on or coming on, depending when this airs, is like
Hmm.
I want to hear from the people that are really doing it, that are real people, that other people can understand that this is obtainable, right? Like I tell people all the time, we're two dumb firemen. Like when I tell you dumb, like we both barely made it out of high school, zero college education, like dumb firemen. And here we are today and figured out how to build a business. And we're going to cross the 9-figure portfolio worth here at some point in the very near future, right? So
Awesome. That's amazing. Who's been the most interesting guest on your podcast? Who has intrigued you the most?
true, God, I've had a lot. Most interesting, dude, I'm trying to roll a
Or
decks right now.
or
I
or,
don't
or
know.
maybe a most character trait, a most interesting character trait that you see.
I was that's what I was about to say. I was going to say I don't want to cop out of this question, but it's like it's the people that started with nothing, right? Like, and the
Yeah.
grinders that like just step up and they're like, yo, this is what I'm doing. This is how I grinded my way here because I resonate this with the story. Before it got too political, I used to love listening to How I Built This. I thought it was the coolest podcast. I just remember listening, and I know I'm moving away from myself, but listening to what's his name that founded Southwest and just talking about giving away wild turkey and only servicing 3 cities in Texas and built this airline company, which maybe the service isn't as good as what it was, but built this airline company. And it's just like insane to think about. It's the same character traits that I resonate with when people come on. They're like, yo, here's this cool tactic that I did to build it. Because you know what? And you're going to find out as you do these, and I'm sure you've already found out, is you're interviewing selfishly for yourself. And I tell everybody they should do a podcast or have a real estate group or whatever it is, because it becomes that's the one selfish thing that I like. We get to talk to the guests, we build the relationships, we build the rapport with them. That at some point in the future, we're going to do a deal. I don't know what it is. It's going to happen. I can't explain it to you, but you're building a network bigger than you could ever imagine. So,
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. So let me throw you another curveball. It's not too bad. This one won't be too crazy for you. What's your take on passive real estate investment? Does passive real estate investment actually exist?
if you want to lose all your money, sure. Yeah. Passive exists. Right. So, there's a couple ways to talk about this. So I think me and you, when we were talking about this, got very I know, and I'm sure I got very passionate about it if I had to assume. But you, if you can't see my body language, I'm starting to sweat a little bit. But here's the thing: the only time it's passive is when you file it with the government. And I don't know how many U.S. listeners you have, but when you own a piece of rental real estate, you check the old passive box. That's the only time it's passive. Other than that, it's the most active contact, full contact sport that you can play, right? If you're the operator, yo, you're the quarterback, right? You're worried if you're getting sacked, throwing the ball down the field, you got to run it, you got to scramble. What are we doing? Whereas if you're the capital investor, maybe you're the coach on the sideline that's calling in the plays and saying, "Hey, dude, what'd you see there?" Right? And I don't know how I made this into a footballism, but here's the thing: when you're um like a capital investor in a deal, your job is to hold me accountable as a sponsor. When you buy a piece of property and hand it to a property manager, your job is to keep that property manager accountable. You should be up their butt every single day. And I know what it's like because I help a local volunteer firehouse here that owns a bunch of real estate. I'm literally up their property manager's butt every single day because I'm like, hey, this needs to be done. This needs to be done because in the end, you're managing your own money, right? And what's crazy is how many people do you know? Because I'm sure you used to sit around. We had kitchen tables. I don't know what you guys had in the military, but the barracks, whatever, let's call it that. And you sit around and you hear, "I'm going to buy this stock," and these people just buy stocks. Or Bitcoin was hot when I was leaving the fire department, or whatever it was, whatever crazy Dogecoin or whatever crazy shit it was. Everybody's buying it. I said, you guys are like literally buying tens of thousands of dollars of this crap, and I'm telling you to lend me $10,000 on a deal that's secured by a piece of real estate that we can go drive and see. And you're telling me I'm the scam artist? Like, too many people, too many people trust the stock market and everything else because it's the popular thing, rather than coming
Hmm.
and saying, look, you can talk to me. Can you pick up the phone and call Elon Musk right now and be like, yo, Elon, like, what's going on with the stock? No, you can't. And if you could, it's insider trading, right? Whereas you
Right.
could pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, what's going on with this piece of real estate? That's a little messed up, or it's good, it's working great. Here's your expectations. And everybody's like, okay, cool, keep it moving, right? So with that being said, it's like it's not passive at all. I know I took us down a wormhole. It's not passive at all. And if you're investing your money or your friends and family money, you treat that with the utmost respect and value it no matter where you place your money. So
Awesome. Great explanation. I
yeah,
love
you're
that.
you're not a
You
psychologist, but you're not a psychologist by chance, because I need to sit down and like,
No, I'm not a psychologist. I'm a great big nerd, doctor of education, and I studied intergenerational communication
oh, see, there
here
you go.
in British Columbia. So I studied basically how to be a chameleon and communicate, which is why I started a podcast about awkward conversations and landlording.
Well, but here's the thing is like you do need to be able to communicate, like
You
getting
do.
these messages out is what's important, right? Like in
Yeah.
my but side by side with this, the reason I tell everybody they should do a podcast or go on other people's podcasts is this is therapy session, right? Like I get on here and I chirp and I'm like, oh, you know what? And I'm like, oh, I talked about that here. But maybe I should actually do that in my business, or you know what? That's screwed up. I better fix that, right? And when you conceptualize and have these conversations, it makes it better for everybody else involved. And hopefully you take away something. Hopefully someone from your audience takes away something. I can tell you right now, I've already taken away 2 or 3 bullet points that I'm going to go back and amend and play with on my end, right?
Love it. Love it. Wow, Ian, you're just a firecracker. You just are, and every time I talk to you, I enjoy it, and that's fantastic. I've listened to many of your podcast episodes, get lots and lots of benefits, and always the talking points and the real nuggets from real people. Like you say, you're not interviewing the gurus, you're not interviewing the super top level. You're interviewing the people on the ground, and they're talking about the true processes in real estate. And I super appreciate that. I really enjoy your podcast. That's great. If a listener is interested in contacting you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way is you can check out equitywarehouse.com. You can learn how we co-invest and co-lend with our friends and family. We're on all the social sites under Equity Warehouse. I'm the most active on Instagram. I'm currently doing a $50 million acquisition challenge by the year's end. Fingers crossed. I'm doing
Wow.
that on cre-syndicate.com. You want to come check it out. I try to go live every day, show people how we're underwriting, how we're raising capital, what deals we're looking for. I mean, transparently, I'll put out addresses. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
literally looking at them in real time as I'm picking them up and going from there. So if you want to check that out, please go look, because it's been fun, and the other thing is it creates community and conversation, and people are enjoying what's being posted, because in the end, someone's going to learn something from me. They're going to learn something from you, and I'm going to learn something hopefully from everyone. And we continue on. Rising tides. I'm so bad with these isms. Rising tides make all the boats float or some crap like that. And hopefully we take a nice wild ride. So
I love it. Tell me again that website, CRE, what is it?
CRE-syndicate.com. So
Nice. That's
it
cool.
started out as a self-storage. It was self-storage secrets, but one thing that we found is we're opportunistic investors. It's more than just self-storage. It's, how can you earn a return on something that you understand? I think is what's more important. And I felt like a fraud only talking about storage when in reality, we're building 10 houses in West Virginia. We have apartment buildings. We have contractor storage. We have Airbnbs. Like, I want to be able to talk about everything, right? Because in the end, you should be, once you get good at real estate, it's just a cog. Cog goes in, widget comes out the bottom. But when you first start, you should be super hyper niched to learn what you're doing. So we rebranded it as CRE-syndicate.com, and hopefully people have fun when they come in, check it out. We have a few hundred members. People are pretty active, and go from there.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, hey, listener out there, whether you're on the US side or the Canadian side, certainly appreciate trying to do more for your real estate business and learning from Ian Horowitz. Check out his podcast, Real Estate Reserve Podcast. You can see all the great people and all the lessons that Ian is bringing out, which is awesome. Ian, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time I'm going to come and do it on the boat with you, and it'll be even
Fine
more.
with me.
Yeah.
Fine with me. Come on up. We're in Vancouver. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Excellent. We'll see you next time. Hang on a second.